You were nimble. You said, let's just get this thing super simple in the App Store. And then boom. How have you and the team, I understand there's about 30 people on the team now, and as you said, 340 million people have downloaded the app. How do you stay nimble?
It's the number one thing that I try to focus on as a leader today. I mean, it is like, I think you have to fight for nimbleness, because every organization, every company I've ever seen, as it grows and as you have success, it is extremely natural to get slower. It's extremely natural to become more set in kind of how you do things, and your ability to respond quickly, to be able to turn quickly, to be able to be dynamic and nimble is compromised. And so I'm constantly looking for how to fight that tension between the systems that we need to survive, and to support, and the structure that we need to support what we do, and yet sort of forcing or fighting for nimbleness as an organization. So there's different ways you can do it. I mean, what we've done in recent months is we really separated the sort of operational aspect of what we do with YouVersion, because we've got millions of people that we're supporting, and they need sort of consistency, operational consistency. And I've kind of carved out a group of people that are helping us be nimble they have no operational responsibilities. They're not going to get sucked into the vortex of the operational needs, but rather are focused on pursuing new opportunities. They're looking at kind of what's happening today, what's happening tomorrow, what we see on the horizon, and trying to make quick adjustments about new product ideas, new ways we can change. But it's not as simple as like assigning a responsibility for nimbleness. I think holistically, we have to kind of continue to look for where can we fight for speed. And that's been a heavy emphasis. I mean, our story has been about moving fast, following momentum, staying nimble, and really emphasizing speed over even accuracy, for that matter. Like, we don't have to be right about the future all the time. We don't have to be right in all of our predictions if we could just be really fast.
Yeah.
Because you can fix things that are broke fast. Yeah. You can change direction when you realize that it's not working fast if you're quick. But if you're slow at all, you pretty much have to have be a fortune teller and be out there saying, this is exactly what's going to happen 5 years from now, and we saw it coming, and we just hit it perfectly. And I just don't know who those people are. I'm not one of them, and I feel like the best way for us to get there is to focus very, very much on speed. It doesn't come natural. Nothing gets faster on its own. Everything gets slower by default, has been my experience. And so as a leader, it's like I'm always looking for where we can fight for speed.
Mm-hmm. And I want you to speak to that. So to keep that nimbleness, you said, I fight for it. That was your phrase.
Yeah.
How do you and your leaders create a culture in which let's go speed, let's go speed, let's go speed, let's not worry about mistakes? That's countercultural to us as human beings. I mean, certainly in the American workforce, right? Oh, I'm worried about mistakes. I'm worried about screwing up. And we're not talking about character here. We're talking about functionality. So how do you create a culture where the team goes, oh, okay, I guess Bobby really means this. I don't need to worry about screwing up. I just want to try to quickly come up with the best solution. Then we'll sit back and reflect.
Yeah, I think it's how you handle the screw ups. It's part of it. Because you can send a message as a leader when someone makes a mistake that the team, whether you told them to do this or not, is setting up a system, a policy, a process to ensure that it never, ever happens again. And the cost of that policy or that procedure is speed, or even the willingness to try. And so how you handle, mistakes as a leader, how you emotionally, handle it, how you handle it in your communication, I think is key. I try, I'm not perfect at this. I'm as human as anybody. I get frustrated when things don't go well, when things don't work out, but I try to make sure that we are encouraging the team members that are involved, that we're trying to learn from what we can learn from it. I don't like repeat mistakes. That's not part of the process. We don't make the same mistake multiple times. We're willing to make mistakes, but just making the same dumb mistake over and over again isn't acceptable. But that shows that we're not learning anything. So we focus on what we learn, but then we have to kind of, in some ways, just disconnect ourselves from the mistake and emotionally move forward. Like, just get past the emotion of it and just say, we've got to press on. Now, when it comes to fighting for it, that looks like in conversation and in meeting, there is a tension. There's always going to be kind of operational systems that are required. It cannot just be chaos, and we don't have an organization that's full of chaos. There's a difference, because you could kind of tip one side of the pendulum and be completely chaotic and have no structure, no systems whatsoever. That's not what it looks like. We hire people that are good at building structure and systems. I just view me as the other side of that tension. My job is to kind of constantly be pressing into our systems, to value the fact that they're there, but to kind of always be asking the question, is it necessary? Is there a way we can do this faster? Is there a way we can eliminate an unnecessary layer? When it comes to team structure, I'm always trying to keep it as lean or as thin as possible, because extra people seem like a great resource, but it tips over to a point where it costs you on speed. It actually slows things down. We were super efficient with what we were doing when we had like 3 or 4 people. As you add in team, you have the leadership structure. You just have to add in certain things that tend to create tension, tend to create friction. There's no way to avoid it. There's no way to avoid systems. There's no way to avoid these things that are necessary operationally. You just have to manage the tension. And as a leader, I feel like my responsibility is to always just make sure that there's appropriate tension towards speed, because if it's not there in me, if it's not there in some of my leaders, then it will naturally sort of swing to complexity. It will swing to things that slow things down, and you lose that nimbleness. You'll still have a great organization. You can still have great support. It can still be a great place to work. It can still be all those things. But what you'll stop doing is innovating. You'll stop leading. At some point, you'll kind of lose your position because you haven't had that nimbleness to the ability to kind of move things forward.